Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Welcome to the reading release for my brand new chapbook special features DVD poems. I'm your host and the writer of special features. I'm Sara Matson. Tonight is a super fantastic night because I get to do one of my favorite things on the planet, and that's read with amazing writers. And I'm really lucky to have some fantastic folks reading with me tonight. It's an honor to be reading with Tiffany Belieu, Kristin Garth, Nikolai Garcia, Adrian Sobol, and Ingrid M. Calderon-Collins. This is such a wonderful time. I'm so thrilled to be here. I apologize for my super cool shades. I am working through a migraine, but nothing can stop the fantastic words that are happening tonight. I'm so pumped to be here. So I am really thrilled to introduce our first writer. Our first reader is Tiffany Belieu. Tiffany is just beginning her foray into fiction. Her poetry is published or forthcoming in Meow Meow Pow Pow, Collective Unrest, The Cabinet of Heed, and OK Donkey, among others. She loves tea and cats, truly a soul after my own. And Tiffany can be found at Tiffobot on Twitter. And more of her poetry can be found at Linktree, linktr.ee/Tiffobot. Please join me in welcoming the amazing, fan-fucking-tastic Tiffany. Thank you so much. Take it away, good.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. This means a lot to me, obviously. I really love your work, and to hear you say that you love my work is very meaningful to me. This is my first time, for people who didn't hear that, kind of doing something like this. So if I make a boo-boo, that's fine. It's okay. We're all going to make it through this on the other side. Also, I do think that it's hard to tell personally for me when a poem ends. So if we get to that point and it's unknown, hand signals, just, there we go. Okay, perfect. Okay. Whew. And also, did not realize it said 10 to 15 minutes. So I've got about 6 minutes, and I think that's great. No pressure, low stakes. All right, here we go. So the first two poems I'm going to read were published earlier, might have been late last year, early this year, in Pontoon at Malarkey. I don't think you might be able to buy a PDF version. So if you like these, there's other great writers in there. The first one's called Soft Focus. I haven't thought about the dog I hit when I was 17 even once today. I didn't double check my track for entrails. My heart didn't pound out all sense. If I felt anything, I swear it was something not quite, but not unlike, good. Believable. That's what the cameraman said when the tears fell, and it was all I could do to accept the roses. Choke out a thank you. The next one is a poem called LYLAS, which is Love You Like a Sister, in case you weren't getting those in your yearbook. So if anyone really loved you, they'd put that, or potentially if they hated you, also that could be something they would put in there. Anyway, trying not to die is the only way to spend summer. Heat so severe, concrete baked the soles of bare feet. You think of grills and raw meat. You couldn't help it. Lying became your new hobby. How it was wherever you had said you had been. An announcement asks you to leave the water. Pool check. All the girls trade pills on deck. Tramadol, Klonopin, Ambien, something. To forget, subtle changes in the timeline go unchecked. You begin to wonder what endings meant, how hard it was to notice a line in the sand in advance, only something you saw as you looked out across the cracks, the impossibility of getting back. So this is a poem that was recently up on Button's Instagram. It was for short form contest, which they do quite a bit, but just a small poem called Committed. On the day time stops, clocks tick louder. A bride sits adrift, all taffeta and longing. What is between endings and eternity? Gold-looped lover's finger, petals white in wolf teeth, alchemy enjoining, breaking, voices in stone luring ever down. Okay. So also, I read these a lot, and I think it's like 6 minutes, but also time means nothing, and I talk like a bumblebee. So if I go longer, please stop me. So this was published in Twin Pies Literary earlier this year. It's called Other Words for Loving. You met Baby in the fall of the worst year. Baby doesn't care if she sleeps, no top, just jeans. Broke your bones and kept you pressed, growing into something grotesque, but Baby thinks you're beautiful. An edict, passed like poison, whispers wave through hallways, only skin or less. Strange to believe in magic, you willfully ignore the trick. Lie awake, confronting the body, what it is afraid to know. A plan to separate you, different interrogation rooms. Watch Baby's lips moves, and you say, the memory of a feeling is a comfortable enough sadness. Okay. This is the time when we breathe, because that's what I forget to do while I'm reading. And also, like, my voice is so shaky. What the fuck, dude? So these next two are new poems. They've not been published anywhere. And so just for you, just for the people who are listening right now, for Sarah. All right. So this one's called White Trash Prom Queen. On special occasions, cheese whiz loose meats and shouting. You said school above home, boys over everything. Brendan said he'd pay $5 to lick the sweat off your back after gym class. Maybe you would have preferred that. You were seen at 17 through the window of a bar downtown, sipping alone and blinking, coded messages to passersby, all of them threatening. Even after they called your name 3 times, you never came to the stage. Someone said you were smoking weed on the football field, renouncing the crown. Even now they talk about how you survived small town life, that they saw you smile with no need for self-preservation, subtly frightening, almost genuine. This one is called Coin Line, and I put it in here because I do like this poem. It's new, but it's kind of a, I was gonna try to read it like a goof, but I'm too nervous, so we're just gonna read it. Every token at the arcade hits the pit of my stomach with a plunk. I shall play the games shown to me, so help me Sky Daddy. Not that it matters, but no one invited you. Omnipresence is kind of a gate crashing. What's the point of asking for penance? You were there. You know it can't be all bad. Come on, man. You're next in the coin line. Now it's up to you. And then the poem I'm going to end with is a poem that I love. It's a poem I wrote a long time ago. It's a poem that, like, I think honestly, like, when someone asks me if I'm a poet, I think of this poem. And it's ridiculous, so let's do it. So this was published in Muskeg magazine like a couple years ago, and it's called This Bar Has a Canadian Bear Camera. And it was written in a bar that had a Canadian bear camera. And never did I see a bear. This bar has a Canadian bear camera. There were no imaginary bears you said would come at 2 a.m. They drifted above the skyline, out of sight, dreamlike, the promise of bears. The shapes of clouds intended to ease all the sadness of static TVs. If only we dreamed elderflowers, honeybees, things that meant our desires were closer to earth. I sat and watched the fire catch, claw our throats into screams, awaiting the desperate release we were sure bears would bring. That's the end for me. I just want to say thank you very much for letting me read my little poems to you. I can't hear myself.
That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, Tiffany Belieu. That was absolutely wonderful. Everyone, please check her out on Twitter at TIFFOBOT. Tiffany, that was absolutely wonderful. And I really appreciate your time and energy and words. I want to teleport you so I can high five you, baby.
We're so close that we could actually make that happen, I think. We should. So.
All right, I'm gonna use my mind. I don't know why I grunted like that.
That's how you get the power to come out.
Yeah,
that's how I do it. All right.
Oh, fantastic!
Thank you.
Jeez, thank you. Ooh, fantastic. Well, that brings us to our next reader of this evening. Our next fantastic reader is Kristin Garth. Kristin Garth is a pushcart, best of the net, and Riesling nominated sonnet stalker. She is the co-host, along with Tom Snarsky, of the fantastic online reading series, Performance Anxiety. Kristin is also the dollhouse architect / editor-in-chief of Pink Plastic House, a tiny journal. Kristin is the author of more than 27 books, including The Meadow from Alien Buddha Press and the forthcoming Lollygagger, which I'm so excited to read. Kristin can be found on Twitter at Lola and Jolie and her website, KristinGarth.com. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Kristin Garth.
Thank you. I will be bringing some of that performance anxiety that I have coined to this performance. So I am going to read some poems that are from Lollygagger, which is my next book that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. And it's a book of like over 200 pages of Shakespearean sonnets that are all about either stripping or they're about survival. There's a whole section called zombie. There's a lot of different things, but I'm going to read you a poem from each of the little sections. But first I'm going to read the title poem, Lollygagger, because this book is really dedicated to the fact I always love the word lollygagger, and it so applies to my life because I didn't really accomplish anything writing wise until I was in my like 40s, and then I was trying to make up for a lot of lollygagging. But the thing about a lollygagger is while you're sitting around, you're soaking up stories and whatever. And I think to me, like part of my big purpose of like even being, I think, in the literary community is to remind other people of that. I meet so many people who are older and they're like, I don't even know, I don't fit in with this, there's a younger crowd or, whatever, I don't know where to begin. And like, you can totally do it. You know what I mean? Like you can absolutely do it. Like I was talking to a girl on just the other day on customer service on something going on at my house. And she was like she's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a writer. And she goes, oh, that's what I want to be. And she had to be in her 20s. And she was like, but I had to give that up to do this. And I'm like, you're in your 20s, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you have to give anything up? You don't have to give anything up. Anyway, that's my long rant. But here's Lollygagger. Much of my life, I am waiting around. Baby doll dresses, asphalt, southern asphalt, playgrounds, library stacks, and flower crowns, gynecologist waiting rooms, waiting to be bought pasta by doctors avoiding their existential doom. Candy heart sucker some don't even pay to loom there prepared for play display by men in scrubs, seersucker or pastel shorts and chambray. Some pull me inside rooms, their eyes on the clock, spending requisite time making small talk without any attention paid to a cock. Is it pretending even if they know that I probably would? Much of my life I'm waiting around to be good. And then after, that's the title poem, but that I go into the first section is called Girl, and obviously deals with my younger years. And I am a Floridian, and that also automatically means you have great stories because just where you live and there's lots of crazy people. But even when I was a little girl and I was very sheltered in some ways, this is a poem called Hair, and like during the pandemic I grew my hair out really long, and I wrote this poem thinking about when I wasn't allowed to do that because of Ted Bundy, who was arrested in Pensacola. And anyway, when I was a little girl. So Hair. When Bundy's arrested in Pensacola, you're 5, young enough to have survived, though not completely intact. Long brown bourgeois hair, middle part attracts evil. Mother knows, and so it goes. Long locks locked to a safe Dorothy Hamill wedge. Old enough to pledge through tears to grow it back once you escape a Mormon culture where it's always alleged your body is to blame for any male-induced indignities or pain. Short hair won't stop your body horrors, nor the jail which holds one misogynist, though there are others free who teach you prayers, that you will not tempt them with your hair. And the next section in Lollygagger is a bunch of stripper poems. And because that's what I did for a long time for a job here in Florida, which is pretty big profession here. And especially Pensacola is a military town. And the strip club that I worked for, they were like a family of strip clubs. and they even owned some sports bars and things. And one was right across the street from our strip club. And if you ever like during one time we had a manager that before we realized we don't get paid by you. You don't really get to tell us when we can come and go, but for, you know, we don't have unions or whatever. And so finally, before we figured that out, he would tell us, well, if you want to leave early, the only way you could is if you could go over to across the street to where there was a wet t-shirt contest. They never could have, you know, they never had that many people participate in it, but they were like, send some of the strippers over there for the wet t-shirt contest and they can do that and go home. And I did that one time. It was the most demeaning, like completely different kind of experience. But anyway, that's what I'm going to read you about. Non-con wet t-shirt contest. I've only ever been in one wet t-shirt contest, and it was against my will, though most wouldn't think that it would be a big deal to a stripper, that I'd feel a little less degrading wearing a shirt, even if the pails of icy water thrown on a December evening didn't hurt. Cold temperatures keep nipples pert, for none of us were all at all aroused. Wanted to make it to a house. 3 dancers stuck in a shift so dead it fucks with both revenue and pretty heads, who can only leave when they fill in and as amateurs across the street. A sports bar contest that feels like defeat. So, and my next poem that I'm going to read is from the deviant section, because I definitely have been a deviant in my life as well. And that's what the book The Meadow is about, kind of some of those experiences. But this is actually a sweet poem from Lollygagger about, anyway, I'll just read it. Birch trees. She sometimes slept with a man who made beds from trunks of birch trees, hugged knees beneath branches, by balsam sap candles while he hummed, told stories, whiskey breath on her neck, his weight disturbing the sheets that had laid circumspect, mattress so high she had to ascend with a ladder like she was a child, erects a bed forest where she's never defiled, myths she believed categorically to be true. A bed is where they lay you down to do violence to you. He will disprove to his hand-me-down doll, collected from town, wasted red miniskirt, juice box from then bed, sometimes seeking wolves. She found birch trees instead. And then I've got 2 more poems, and one is from the section, it's called Watcher, and which, you know, I got the idea from that section from watching that movie, the series The Watcher, recently. But I watch a lot of movies and also true crime, and so a lot of these poems are to do with different movies and true crime, and this one is after the show Servant, and it's called Those Midwest Dead Eyes. You would like to wear a bright bikini, call a boy who doesn't make you cry. Seems whenever they're close enough to kiss, the agitation flutters angel moth wings inside your resurrected eye. Goads those guileless guys you'll eulogize, wedding rings that might have been, to flee the shadows where you saunter, to innocence again. Only the afflicted follow you to bed, potent as the consecrated knife upon which an extended family has bled. They sometimes strive to turn towards life, crawl back inside your little death instead, to feel alive in something a little dead. And the last poem that I am going to read is from the last section in the book, which is called Zombie, that is kind of my dark poetic way of really saying survivor, because, you know, I wanted to write about, you know, having survived things and having some issues after, and that it's not always, you know, that you can feel kind of patched together and not perfect, but getting by and thriving even. And so anyway, this poem is after the Virgin Suicides. Are you the little death? Will you last 5 minutes on my parents' roof above the place my sister died? Will I be worth a quiet jaunt through child abuse, towards homemade salad dressing, spermicides. I must store for more in my own slate blue lake I climb upon to drown beneath starlight. Will you abandon me like some mistake while I'm dissipating in plain sight? A teenager in winter who called you on the phone. Any number I remember is better than being alone. At dawn, I do my sleeping lollygagger, limber inside a bedroom where I cannot breathe. Are you the little death I at last can leave? And thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Kristin. I am so very excited about Lollygagger. Everyone, that was Kristin Garth. Please check her out on Twitter at Lola and Jolie, or on her website where you can purchase one of her incredible books, Kristin Garth, KristinGarth.com. Wonderful. So moving along to our next fantastic reader, it gives me great joy to introduce Nikolai Garcia. Nikolai Garcia's poems have been published in various literary journals and anthologies, and his chapbook, Nuclear Shadows of Palm Trees, which is fantastic, highly recommend it, was released by DSTL Arts and available currently at dstlarts.org. He is currently the co-host for Trenches Full of Poets, a reading series in Long Beach. Nikolai also posts some of my very favorite stories on Instagram and can be found online as @HelloKami. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Please welcome Nikolai Garcia.
All right. First of all, congratulations on your new book. I love it, and everybody should definitely get a copy if they already haven't. And thank you for inviting me to read with this great group of poets, people I don't know, people that I do know. Kristin, who I've known on Twitter forever. This is my first time getting to hear, so that's awesome. Ingrid, who we live in the same city, but I haven't seen in I don't know how long. So I'm very happy that you're here. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This, by the title is, you can guess, it's something I wrote earlier this year. It's called Untitled Spring Poem. In the backyard, marijuana plants sprout like alien life forms escaping the earth. Tiny yellow light bulbs on the lemon tree announce it's time for tacos. At every cafe, the poets are writing about jacarandas again. It must be spring. Peacocks are roaming free in Arcadia, loudly in color and sound, announcing that it's spring. The squirrels from MacArthur Park that scurry down for leftovers think it's spring. Even the downtown rats running from trash bin to trash bin on Spring Street say that indeed it is spring. The cute barista on Main Street that never goes to the movies with me hands me my coffee and says it's spring. Two drunks in an alley raise up from a whiskey slumber like blooming flowers to announce it's spring. My ex, coming out of nowhere from a 6-month hibernation, sends me this text. A row of flower emojis and the words all caps, it's spring. A chola on a pink beach cruiser, she stares back at me and her switchblade eyebrows say it's spring. At the bar, a bartender's bluebird tattoo flies off their arm to sing about spring. When I get home, I pull my chest apart to look at my heart, but it doesn't say anything. This is a holiday poem. It's called Noche Buena, and it was published a couple of years back in issue of Witchcraft. It's Christmas Eve, and I don't have my kids for the holiday. Another Friday where I head to the bar after work. A woman meets me there, brings vegan tamales and cake to share. Her pink furry jacket juxtaposes against my favorite dark corner booth where we sit and talk. She tells me about growing up in the suburbs after moving away from the inner city. I've only walked from one hard neighborhood to another. She refills her glass with a bottle of Patron that comes out of her purse and matches me drink for drink. I think she's a keeper. She asks if I like the food. Her smile is a wink, and I let my sad guard down. I tell myself, I don't have much, but I have her attention. I lie and say I like the vegan tamales. Where's my water? Okay. I'm gonna read another poem that takes place in a bar. It's called Mazzy Stars Fading to You, plays in a bar. What's there is a red glow spread out on everything. The jukebox hums soft love through speakers. A lone bartender mixes potions in near darkness. What's not there are roars of laughter, the sound of work complaints and empty mugs slamming. What's missing are the patrons, the regulars on a Wednesday night. In a corner booth, a man and woman sit, guarded by an entourage of empty glasses. What's missing is her partner. What's missing are his insecurities. So her hand inches closer to his, their fingers hook and trap each other, entangle, hold. What's there is not spoken, not whispered. What's there is reflected in a shot of whiskey, in the last call plea from the bartender, in a neon sign flickering like a heartbeat, and in the voice of Hope Sandoval as she sings, I think it's strange you never knew. I'm gonna read this one. This is one of the last things I wrote. I guess my newest poem is called An Incantation. So what if I miss you, if I light a red candle and invoke your image in its flame? So what if I think about you on a cold autumn night and 3 minutes later, your texts warm up my phone? Who is going to care that knowing your thoughts brings me joy? That I whisper your name to no one and the moon? To whom does it matter that my favorite color is blue and your touch ignites a season of summer inside me? There's going to be 1,000 nights without you. There's going to be an empty bed. I crave your attention, but not your shadow. I'll write another poem. I do not reply to your texts. And then I think I'm just gonna go out on this one from my chapbook. This one I haven't read in a while and I really like. It's called Confessional Poem Number 3 after Michael Robbins. It's an imitation poem. I am 31 with cartoon characters on my shirts, a young sloth. Sometimes I mistake my own arm for a branch and fall. You shouldn't have taken me as a pet. We never should have met. Every morning when I wake, I think about revolution. Every night I think of a woman. She was fine with her living arrangement until the day she met me. Me gusta el reggae y también el punk. I will buy you a few beers, but I like to spend the least amount of money to get drunk. Sometimes when I wake up and it's raining, I wonder if any raindrops have touched you. I didn't want to take things slow because I was in the Amazon and wanted to go. I will lick the raindrops off your face. Does that sound dumb? You can name the time and the place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikolai. That was really wonderful. I really appreciate your time. And for everyone looking to check out that awesome chapbook, Nuclear Shadows of Palm Trees, visit dstlarts.org. Thanks so much, Nikolai. I'm so excited to introduce our next reader, Adrian Sobol. Adrian Sobol is an immigrant / musician / poet. He is the author of The Life of the Party is Harder to Find Until You're the Last One Around, which is available from Malarkey Books at malarkeybooks.com. Adrian's microchap, This Is Not Where We Parked, This is Ohio, is available as part of the Ghost City Press Summer Series. He lives in Chicago and can be found on Twitter at yo_Adrian I Did It. Please join me in welcoming my Leica friend, the rad Adrian Sobol.
Hi, thank you. Sarah, thank you, Sarah, for inviting me to read, and just get right to it. I'm going to start with some poems from The Life of the Party is Harder to Find Until You're the Last One Around, which, as Sarah said, was available from Malarkey Books. This is what it looks like. It makes a great Christmas gift for everyone on your list, and I do recommend you buying at least 3 copies for everyone you know. I'm going to start with a poem called Self-Portrait After Buying a Top Chef 5-piece knife set. Found in last night's quiet, I was excited. I thought I finally heard my inner voice for the first time, or maybe Spicer whispering a poem on horseback from within. It was just my neighbors arguing. Dear neighbors, the wall isn't thick enough. Should we discuss it over dinner? I like my food thick enough so I feel it crack over the lull behind my eyes. I can't sit in silence without an encroach of panic or at least irony. I sleep at bare minimum to 2 sources of white noise. I buy things to put myself at a distance from myself, and I like my things in multitudes to smother what's left of me out of the room. I've been talking to myself more as a practice of intimacy than prayer. Okay, I'll be honest. There is no sound in space because there is no sound inside a vacuum. That's what terrifies me. When I said to Steve once, I'm dead inside, Steve said to me, I'm dead inside and out. And then another poem from here. All my books seem to have long titles, so in honor of long titles, here's a poem with a very long title that goes, there's no more abstract mode of expressionist art than dreams, or lines you would have accepted from our interview had we met on a train to talk about my forthcoming novel, a poem in 3 acts. Act 1. I confess nothing when caught alive, and once I even lived in a lighthouse where every other weekend I held house shows, house parties, and the most extravagant shipwrecks you've ever seen. Act 2. In my part-time job, being mistaken for other people, I've learned there's no money in it, little recourse against promotion, plus a few things about how to behave. I've attempted to catalog my every sin. I've given out a 1-800 number to call for updates on my latest spree, a must-try service the papers of record announced. Now, after years of this, I'm told I should try to improve, as if every train wreck is not already sincere. I think about exercise, nothing too long or too strenuous. I just want to look like evening has come to barrel over me. Act 3. To make myself useful, I have to turn into something else. Placid is one way to behave, as a lake, out in the country, barely noticed, but still there. I put a finger through the hole in my shirt, then my arm, and then by noon, my whole body is lost to it. How long will this day go on before it is tired of itself? We have a right to be tired, bored. I put on a smile to try something new. It's only okay. So far, art for art's sake upsets everyone. It's the most radical form of love I know. And then let's take one more from here. So I'm going to read some more Chicago poems. I'll try to read this one, which is both about the kind of weird mental state you get in when you're trying to speak 2 languages at once, and taking a shot of Malort, which if you haven't had the pleasure, come to Chicago, we'll get a shot of Malort. Tongue work, a second language. It happens slowly. The fester of your nightcap starts in behind the fingernails, a little fly twisting its legs behind your eyes. It's like the crook of a neck in your palm set against the clock hand of skin. Count the pulses, the shimmer. You have to cut one vein to see. You close your eyes instead. Let the tongue work like a knife and play guessing games. In a field, the flowers linger. Where you press your hand into the earth is warm enough to crawl into. A body you won't dream of, anything less than the ghost of your desire once you open your mouth. So I'll do one more kind of Chicago-y poem. This one's called Hair Shirt. You want out, and I want us to need more light than air. You want neglect to be less of an effort, and I want this song to keep pace with your leaving. This is what desire does, puts a weapon in my hand, then turns it against me, my body bloodied on the tile while you play with my hair. My wound fresh with jasmine, fresh with bougainvillea, a garden sprouting through me too, vines down my ribs, little flowers where my eyes went to glass. It's about to rain, you say. I'll bet you $5 the rain will make one more unannounced appearance. My famous last words. God, I've written another one, haven't I? Another stress fracture. Look, I keep dreaming about it. You coming in from the cold in style, those Eastern Bloc furs, the snow on the tracks, my hand in my jacket, polishing a passport, a train that won't arrive on time, the shadows wet with spies looking for a trigger to kiss. I'm sorry. I want to watch TV with you. I want you to tell me you're not going to be even a little bit merciful. You don't have to be, not yet. I want you to know this is how a mild fever breaks me. I don't mean to be contemplative. This is as loud as I'm willing to get while we sleep. So stay, play a little parlor game, a riddle of the guess who variety, some clues for those at home. Feel free to follow along. Someone organize the search party, the dogs howling, scent drunk, paws muddy, mouth to dirt, where we all reside, first in the body, then in the earth. You told me to dig a hole in the ground, so I dug one large enough I wouldn't fit in without you. Here under the old style sign, under its blue and white light, under the stage, through the trap door for my costume change. Now I'm a blonde. Now I'm in a lounge singer's dress, cocktail in hand, my lips pink with music. There's a song I meant to play you, full of debris. It goes like this. Little lines, Scrivana Popolsku, little bits of you taking a baton to my skull. And then 2 more I want to read. This sort of inspired to read this because of DVD poems. So this is one of the few poems I wrote that's very specifically about other movies. This one is called Christmas Vacation is a Die Hard movie. Chevy, baby, you have angels for eyes, a plaza's worth of wattage in that look. I have to press our halos in the snow just to keep them from setting the house on fire. But Clark, Sparky, it's not going to happen. There's no rattle on the roof, no Santa to come down with his automatic, not this year, no money, no muzzle, no glass in our hair, our feet. So the hell with it. Let's take another shot to the head and another. There's always room for more than one hostage at a Christmas party. One says, Mele Kalikimaka. One says, Yippee-ki-yay. One says, leave the light on or leave me for dead. Let me have some Christmas before it ends. And then last poem here is for Sara, who is a huge fan of Laika, which is the first dog sent into space, who was sent into space by Soviet Russia in 1957. And this is called Laika, 1954 to 1957. In the time it takes to make bread, a wild pasture. Outside this thought, a song no longer than an inch. If there is light, it's pressing down on you. Something stirs inside it. It's not so much lust you experience as it is its recurring engine. Boredom is not a new technology. It has no apparent safety valve. Recite that old line about cream rising, top as operative verb, verb being in this instance a hunger. You can laugh. Do it now into this pine wood box before the morning comes. Try to transcribe it. Be serious for extended periods of time. See how your wardrobe changes to match. Your Uber has arrived. Half sick, you stumble out through the sidewalk. You recall asphalt, but not its purpose. Where are you supposed to go? In the dark, there is no knowing. Once, a tiny satellite circled the earth carrying a dog. There can be no word for a fear you cannot fathom. An infinite future tires you out. Thank you, and buy my book.
Oh, Adrian, thank you so much. That was so fantastic. I really, really appreciate having you here tonight. Everyone, that was Adrian Sobol. Please check out The Life of the Party. It's harder to find when you're the last one around. Buy 1 or 10 copies from Malarkey Books. Wonderful. Well, that brings us to our next reader, the amazing Ingrid M. Calderon-Collins. Ingrid M. Calderon-Collins is a poet and tarot reader. She is the author of 21 books. She lives in Los Angeles, California, with her husband, painter John Collins. Ingrid is also the founding editor of Resurrection Mag and Resurrection Press, which you can find at resurrectionmag.com. I highly recommend Ingrid's gorgeous books and also Ingrid's Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to poems in progress, podcasts, really gorgeous photos and art, and tarot readings. Please join me in welcoming the ethereal Ingrid M. Calderon-Collins.
Oh my goodness, thank you. I feel so special. Thank you so much for having me. I fucking love you, so this is an honor. It's been quite the last 2 years, so this is a really nice sort of calm and reintroduction to reading poetry again. So I'm going to put my eyes on. If you see me squinting, just please. All right. These don't have titles. I feel like a lot of these I wrote for Patreon. I did a series of poems about food. I did a series of poems about my husband. So, you know, they're all kind of scattered in here without titles. So we reach the conclusion that I am not borderline. I am linear. I am inside of me, incision. I needed help, not a mother. Khalil Gibran said, "Your children are not your children. They come through you, but not from you. The disconnect and the unplugging is the descent. I am on my way up again. The body is a plump heirloom tomato. It is a balsamic glazed onion layered on more layers. A piece of gluten-free toast is the remembrance of options. I chew some coconut chia pudding and disperse the seeds into the celestial space between my teeth. Each crunch, a body. I see now why ceremony brings peace, why it induces dis-ease. I'm just gonna keep going, like sort of in a flow. Today, the sun feeds me. I've tried enjoying Black coffee, but sometimes things in their rawest form don't satiate and instead offend. But I sip it and remind myself that kindness is hidden in parts of us resplendent with darkness. I learned cross-legged the origin of the word religion, derived from the Latin word regilare, to bind. Restrain and bandage, as in a wound, but it is also a cause to make people feel united, bound. A strange thing happens when we give institutions and ideas names. We become dependent on their definitions and forget to eat of their son. I was asked how old I was the other day. Bright-eyed, I answered, I am joy. Imagine realizing the worth of your being and still having to go to work the next day. My body has become a crisis, an assumption of what I am or what I think I am. We live in need of conflict. We sacrifice calm for artillery because it's better than the quietness of our minds at midnight. We want names if they mean we are now something instead of everything. Imagine realizing the worth of your being and still having to go to work the next day. If poetry is like bread, let's pretend that our gluten sensitivity means we are spiritually connected to things that bloat us. If my blood boils, let it act as bathwater for spent bodies. If love is love is love is love, and love invites more of itself regardless of, more so than, then let me be the sky that looks down on itself and the eyes that look up at it. I chant things that feel like truths into the veins of my struggle, said by men alive and dead. Paramahansaji said, the best shelter is in the silence of your soul. So I stop talking and the miracles begin. First small, a comfortable sleep, a raise at work, a hunger for whole foods, then unlimited, a fire that fades to a flame, an uncorked existence, a sweeping. Dr. Pradeep Jamdada said, you're a cactus in a rainforest, and the famine in me, the evil in me keeps eating because voids are bulimic. Paramahansaji said, you are the electricity in the bulb of flesh, you are not the bulb. So I change the bulb and leave the lights off, waiting for the moon to solicit the sun. Sadhguru said, be devoted to the process. So I surrender to a candlelight. There is therapy in the 2006 remastered version of The Blood by The Cure. There is also therapy in therapy, even if it's me talking to a screen in my kitchen while my therapist tells me that labels are unnecessary. There's therapy in vitamins and ritual, apples with peanut butter. There's therapy in Susie and the Banshees version of This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. There are rituals that end up being therapy, therapy on our knees, either in church or in front of our beloved, in whiting out mistakes on paper, and looking at the flame of a candle during a blackout. A flash in the sky, a black ocean, a flock of parakeets being obnoxious, in the detail of your torso when you breathe, in the grill marks of our dinner and the crunch of our dessert. Therapy is a prayer answered in open parking space in a crowded grocery store, where a pendant sits, where a compliment lives, music, laughter, crying in the middle of a meal, death anxiety, life anxiety, anointing celebrations on the third eye of my third eye, a sitar mimicking my heartbeat. In there lives my damage and my remedy. This next one is actually about being an immigrant and leaving. I think a lot of people, there's this funny thing that happens when I tell people I'm an immigrant because I don't have an accent, but I did that on purpose because assimilation, right? And I grew up in the Valley, so I sound like a Valley girl. And, but I did leave a country, I did leave a civil war. And so I didn't really know that country. And I still really don't, because it kind of holds a lot of darkness in it. But this is a poem about that. There are lots of ways to say goodbye to a country. If you're forced out, goodbyes melt into midnight car rides and 3 bags of life for each person leaving. Broken, the country will wake in the morning, finding another one gone, remembering your laughter, your scraped knees bleeding onto her earth. She'll miss you, and you'll forget her because you assimilate and start over wherever you land. There are lots of ways to say goodbye to a country. You wish for it first and wonder where you'll live it out, the dreams you can hardly remember, where you'll find a remedy for every open sore, where you'll find shelter from incessant birds, where food doesn't come with eyes and instead is wrapped like a gift each and every time. And this is my last one. I posted it on Instagram, and it's less a poem and more like a journal entry, but you know, whatever. So yeah, let's just do it. Thank you, Sara, once again. I love you. This is really therapeutic. This is healing my soul. So thank you so much. My brother died at 30 years. I am 42. My sister is 59. My father is 85. My mother, 81. The earth is 4.5 billion years old. The average time it takes to smoke a cigarette is 7 minutes. It took me 4 minutes to fall in love with my husband and approximately 158 days to marry him. 78 years is the average lifespan here in the United States. I will be 43 in 3 days. That leaves me with an average of 36 years left to enjoy this husband and this life. I don't want to die, but mostly I don't want to live a life where I am not living. I have lived in the shadow of my own lies since I first caught a glimpse of how easy it was to convince others of them. How betrayed I feel writing that. When you survive trauma, you become an expert at pretending, at lying. When you survive trauma, you have trouble differentiating your own behaviors, admitting them. I remember during my visit to my 3rd therapist, a woman who was determined to hospitalize me and make me a vegetarian, I was asked if I had molested anyone. I was shocked, insulted, outraged. How dare she ask me such a thing, I thought. But the more I sat with that question, the more it made sense. We mimic. I often catch myself being exactly like my mother. I catch her face in mine, her hands, her angry voice, her coldness. So why wouldn't I mimic? How did I manage to not engage in the same sick shit? I did, but it was different. I became a liar. I became a manipulator. I became a victim for the sake of easier manipulation. I told everyone my story. I was the embodiment of my trauma. Trauma, trauma, trauma. I became the bratty, angry little girl who was not allowed to be angry. So I took it out on everyone. My friends, my lovers, my thighs, my wrists, my body, but mostly my lovers. They got to see the horror left over. The years went on and I was still that angry little girl at 18, 27, 35. Then finally, by 36, I had had enough. Meaning I knew I was in a toxic relationship where I was stuck in that same pattern, expecting this man to fix me and to endure all of my shit, to listen and not be heard, to be my crutch. Look, I understand that trauma is different with everyone. I'm not going to label myself here today. I'm not here to disregard or claim. I am here to say that I am a grown woman trying to take responsibility. I am a grown woman trying to discard. Please know this. Please understand this. Please swallow this. Please digest this. I am just showing you my process, the way my responsibility looks and feels. I just want to spend the next 13,140 days that I may have left in the comfort and knowing that I did not let my trauma win. Usually around 1:11 a.m., while we're listless from lovemaking, our mouths parched and laughing, my husband and I joke that he's my reward for my hard work, for my constant healing. The universe is always watching and listening, he says. It told me to treat you right. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. That was Ingrid M. Calderon-Collins, and I am just totally struck by your words, as always. Thank you so much for breaking your solitude to share with us this evening. Please look up Ingrid. You can find lots of amazing stuff at resurrectionmag.com. Really, that was wonderful. Woo! Y'all, this has just been such a wonderful night, and I am so overjoyed to have all of you here. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to share this goofy pop culture book with you, and this is just such a joy for me. Would you mind? My amazing husband, Jeff, has agreed to read my bio because he's really awesome, and I really appreciate it. So here's Jeff Matson. Pardon.
Oh, wow. I get an introduction. Hello, everyone. I have the honor of introducing Sara Matson. She, her has poetry in Bone Bouquet, Impossible Task, Ghost City Press, and elsewhere. Sarah's full-length book of poetry was published by Swallowtail Press, and her chapbook, Electrogramma, is available from Another New Calligraphy. Sarah's pop culture chapbook of DVD poems, special features, is now available on Amazon from Alien Buddha Press. She lives in Chicago, where she tweets as @SkeletorWrites. And more of Sarah's poetry can be found at neutralspaces.co/Sara Matson.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I think I need to change the screen a little bit. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Once again, I am Sara Matson. I'm really over the moon to be here with you tonight. I'm reading from my newest weird book of pop culture poetry. A lot of my very favorite films and TV shows inspired this goofy book. And to start tonight, there's this 1995 classic starring Angelina Jolie, Matthew Lillard, and Johnny Lee Miller. Yeah, you know it, called Hackers. This poem is inspired by the 1995 movie Hackers, and it is called We Are Nameless. Burning chrome between my keys, scrambled brain signals result in tartan blazer with PVC bra and cargo shorts. Pixie cut, you remain a blameless fairy, chewing on bolted arrow, pointed ears, rosing at the accusation. I admire the vicious animal and force crystals through my ear holes while the photo booth pocket elaborates on the slowest real effects cataclysm. United in our high kick sucking chest wound, my immaculate hair and stunt double will always crave crashing into my vibrant body. Rollerblades gliding past your future ex, electrifying the shrapnel in my mouth. You kiss my bloody curls. Recalibrate, burn me out of your mainframe, scorch my hardwire, GIF loop. I struggle with postmodern dry tears, nightmares fought with chipped nail polish, no body hair, radioactive face tattoos. Clench your midnight jaw, get the net. Spaghettification transcended by breathing my own brain, headbutt flashbang back to the eyebrow trends I was too witless to understand. Useless information. Cyberspace nostalgia is poorly applied eyeshadow and console cowboys. I want to burn down some fancy structure, start fresh. Each of us wearing dresses on our date, dumped into the green screen river. We watch the burning oscillator with stars poking our eyelids. So 1995 was truly an amazing year for cinema. We had movies like Showgirls, Virtuosity, Judge Dredd, Johnny Mnemonic, and one of my very favorites, the Lori Petty run Tank Girl. So this poem is inspired by the movie Tank Girl, and it's called You're So Pretty, It Makes Me Sick. She speaks in mustard crust, tinny, a beer can across a highway, sand-stained tube socks, strappy hangover, over the shoulder, boulder holder, targeted, yellow plastic braids attached to dusty bowler, cult classic ultraviolence reference. Apocalyptic luxury cultivated with flamboyant, maniacal generosity. Single-grained revelations amongst an ocean of sand. Hot blonde dishwater rooted at fluorescent random. Magenta maintained and ignored, rolling across missile tits, the fucking coolest. Her own elegant mechanic instincts flourishing amongst muted domesticity. Sexy war battered deeply anachronistic icon of the world I wanted to resist in. Growing up is a modern dissertation, waltz across aches of trauma spit, and rigorously mulling the spicy pretties with plaid waists and feathered boleros. She shared breath with Bowie, while trying to find my own teddy on a stick and scoop my pelvis forward to lengthen my spine. Too tall. Her winged, quirky hive light-up giggle wanders through time past the decrepit mansion, crushing sadness, sweet love, devastating loss. Stop, memory, stop. Swiveling in roasted curiosity and eternal effervescence, mistaking kindness for weakness is something only done once when a loaded bolt gun is pressed to any manner of cheek. Thanks. Ew. Thanks. So I like to say that this 1992 animated movie is why I've been a vegetarian for the last 30 years, and is probably also at least partly responsible for my irrational obsession with Tim Curry. This poem is based off the movie Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, and is called My Logic is Erratic. Carcinogenic lipstick, sunset pinks, drawn in heart-shaped streaks, chin to navel, velvet sludge wrapping my limbs, damp leaves elegantly pulling poison from my backlit skeleton, eventually becoming my damaged adult aesthetic of luscious maximalism. Cataclysmic and decentered, the lucky bat spat magic on the cusp of incantation, while the moon buzzed auspiciously, glowing natural hot spring foam radicalized me, a child. Nosebleed on your lap, melting to stubborn crust, my tiny skin taut when threatened. I stopped eating meat. I cried over leather, sneakers, begged my Disney gods for forgiveness when my kittens returned soft and silent. Removal of finger segments forever a singular threat, like the destruction of your toy piano and gently drugged body suffering alone, a gift. Mumbling off Broadway show tunes, forced to understand promises as thick as unstoppable time or breath. Flapping wildly to entrance and illuminate, corporate charcoal watercolors blend grayscale, intricate between soggy petals. Trapped between bronze, it is the clever bat and I, our laments whipping between radiator tubing like razor silk in the night. Strangers to nirvana, we are crushed by the purity of hope or science. Sticky sky anxiety guides an effervescent motif into my arms, tinted like bedside notebooks or kinked filaments. Resilient and recirculated dry rot invocation, a sundance spurting from wired ear to plump bohemian lip, trapped in performance, complex and warm, but restrained. Ferocious prism refracting across meadowed sunset, almost caught me admiring shadow flowers, fuzzy cast by memory. We sing or admire the buttery leather beating dust into the supple, damp evening. Quicksilver brilliance of voice and word, we rejoice in the potential and volatility of animated nature. So much, I got a couple more for you tonight. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer forever has a stake in my heart. I have a Faith from Buffy tattoo. And this was inspired by both the 1994 film and the TV show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is called Becoming. Desperately unhip, I cling to your thighs like coated denim. Casual tattoo on your bicep, like we weren't all in high school, suffering. Named antithetical to everything I was taught. Teenage dress-up sleepover in silky bias nighties and lug-soled boots. Crosses we made from tinfoil scraps, gloppy glitter polish stolen from your ethereal older sister. Get out of my room! I wore hair wax and twin sets, muscle tanks and plastic jeans. Nothing your size would fit over my tiny ears, but I needed to be 5'5". Breathless from dancing, frosted liner illuminates my horse jaw smile, tumbling onto your inflatable couch. Everything is effortless and shiny, magazine samples perfuming your whole room. I hid when your mother arrived to yell. Faith wouldn't make me pick up the scattered bits of neon from a water balloon fight. Faith wouldn't bring her little sister on patrol. Faith was already kissed by my tiny age. Before bed, we clinked mugs filled with filtered water, always inspected for coffee rings, and drank to never hating our parents. But you were always Buffy, and I was always Faith. Thanks so much. I got one more for you tonight. So this poem is inspired by the X-Files and Twin Peaks, which are two really great shows. But I'd like to think that mostly this poem is ekphrastic, and it is based on this 1999 photo of Gillian Anderson, because she's a total babe. So this poem is called which of course is backwards, for the truth is out there. A wayward hair spun itself so deeply into my shin, the resulting infection sent me to hospital, where Dr. Lips joked about amputation while I sketched insurance info with one eye closed around gritted teeth to soothe nausea. Maybe there's not enough brass in pop music. I upset everyone when I said I wanted to die so I could come back as Gillian Anderson's thong. The ticking in every warm mug, arbiter of seconds measured in lasting throat warmth. Fix your hearts or die. Paranoid subversion, oh spooky. I know you. You are the most beautiful DEA agent the world has ever known. Pants worn one leg at a time, thigh holster empty as I suck the lipstick off your bottom teeth. Thank you so very much for everything tonight, for joining us. Tiffany, Kristin, Nikolai, Adrian, Ingrid, thank you so much for reading with me. I'm really grateful to call such brilliant writers my friends. Everyone, if you're watching this, I'm going to be putting links to their incredible work, how you can buy their books, how you can support these fabulous writers. I also want to give a shout out to Ben Nespajani and Bob Sikora for their time in blurbing special features, and Red at Alien Buddha Press for giving my weird fun book a home. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight, including my parents. I really appreciate you supporting me, and all my amazing friends that are here. Special shout out to Jeff for just being the very best, and I am so lucky to be loved and love you. Really, thank you for supporting small presses. Everyone, thank you again. This has been a wonderful night, and I am so grateful. I am Sara Matson. Thank you very much. I stop recording. Oh, here we go. Stop recording.